Well, time to bring it on with some email.
Okay, let's do it. Man,
okay.
that last time was bringing it on. They really went. Ooh, wait. Okay, what do you got?
Okay, this is Juliet who says, I can't seem to get a clear answer regarding prescription medications such as Zoloft for anxiety. I have suffered from anxiety for years, most of it brought on by trauma involving emotional, some physical, and some sexual abuse. I can't seem to find a therapist, always seems like a closed door. How do I know if this is spiritual or psychological or physiological?
I'm afraid right now, I'm afraid, but it's a combination of all of it. I read a book recently, I got a copy of it called Shrinks, and it was absolutely excellent. It was written by the head of the American Psychiatric Association. It was an excellent, excellent book. The guy's a professor, and he talked about some of the nutty things that were done in the name of psychotherapy. Mm-hmm. And then he talked about some of the, the medical approaches to stuff like depression. And then when it was all finished, he said it needs to be a combination of the two to get the job done. And I think he's right. Some of these things are psychosomatic. Some of them are actually physical. A chemical imbalance can cause people to go crazy. So the idea of taking Zoloft, now the problem is we're the Prozac nation, and the easiest thing in the world for a doctor to do is say, okay, here's a prescription, take so many of these things.
Which doesn't solve anything.
Yeah, you stay stoned, yeah. and you've got to work through your issues. I mean, you were sexually abused, you need to get over that. And the best thing is to do it in the name of Jesus. But I don't think you need to feel guilty of taking some antidepressant or some, but just you don't want to get hung up on these things. They're only one type of answer to some of the psychological and psychosomatic and physical problems that beset people, but there's no question about it. But in terms of depression, I still think the answer is exercise, diet, sleep, rest, and a healthy attitude toward the Lord. I mean, that's the thing that'll get you out of these problems. All right.
Okay, this is Sharon who says, so many people are talking about the impending currency crisis, and I was wondering what your advice would be on investing. When the American dollar falls, where should the middle class be putting money? Gold overseas?
Listen. I thought the American economy was so messed up that they were setting up such a huge amount of debt that I thought it was going to collapse. The truth is, everybody else is screwed up too, and they're worse than us. And so the American dollar has been riding strong, whereas the euro particularly has gone to pieces. The RMB, the Chinese currency has been struggling. Other currencies have been struggling, and so for the last year or so, the dollar's a pretty good place to be. I again want to say, get investments that sweat. Find stuff that turns a profit. There are some of these companies that invest in their funds that invest in a broad variety of companies. But you want those that pay good dividends. And if they're solid companies, I think that's the way to go. Although I believe in a little bit of gold. I think gold, 10% or something is good. Silver's good, a little bit. Oil and gas, I like. But all these things, you get a balance, if you don't mind, rather than focus everything on gold, everything on silver, and everything on putting it in the mattress. All right.
This is Marco who says, would it be wrong to direct my tithes and offerings toward a Christian charity?
I don't think so. I think it's God's house. The Church of God is everything. It's not just the local congregation. I know people just scream and yell at me how terrible it is to say that, but the truth is they're great organizations. They're educational institutions. There are charities that look after the need of the poor. There's something just like Orphan's Promise, the widow and orphan. All these things are part of what God is doing, and I don't think that you need to be worried about it. The thing that we've had questions about before is, do you think if I gave money to my nephew for their education, if that would be a use of my tithe. The answer is no, that's not a use of your tithe, because that's given to yourself. That's a family responsibility. All right.
Okay, this is Andrea, who says many churches have yard sales and other fundraisers on church property. Is this wrong?
Well, if it is, an awful lot of churches are wrong. I don't think so. Thank you. All right.
This is Michael, who says, a guy seems to be jealous of my relationship and tries to destroy it. He calls my girlfriend all the time, saying that he's not going to leave her alone until she breaks up with me. I spoke to him nicely, but he cursed at me and made fun of me. It's becoming frustrating, and I don't want his action to affect the relationship that God has put together. What should I do?
Well, I think the time's going to come you may have to sue him. You know, there is such a thing as alienation of affection. In the marriage relation, it's loss of consortium. There are all kinds of things, but this is an attack on you. And it's slander, it's you name it, but it is actionable what this man's doing. I don't know what in the world's wrong with him. He must be really sick in the head. But
well, this is a girlfriend, not a wife. So, I mean, not that that makes what the guy's doing okay.
I know, but I mean, he's very close to this girl and getting ready to get married, and this clown is trying to break them up and said, I'm going to pursue her, and he's trying to break up that relationship. And, you know, alienation of affection is used to be a tort. And I think that you need to lay it on him. The time's coming, you can love him and all that kind of stuff. But I think in that you've got to ask the authorities to do something to alleviate the problem.